What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We're also presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care. Made in Italy since 1948, Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we've got a lot to get into today. Logan Cooley, 4-goal game last night. Nashville looked horrible on home ice against the Florida Panthers. The Devils and Red Wings got into a nice little scuffle at the end of their game, and the Rangers picked up a win after their 4-game losing streak. That's just a couple of things off the top of my head, Colby. Where do you want to go first here this morning? How you doing? You look like, I don't even know what you look like right now. You're very deep in something, it seems like. You're researching something right now?
No, I was trying to put out a tweet.
No.
About the show. I think we should, it's funny. Like yesterday, we obviously ended the show pretty tense. And it is interesting to see first off, a lot of comments on the show yesterday on YouTube. So I want to say thank you to everybody who did that. And they weren't just like, you're an idiot, you're an asshole. We get a lot of those.
You want to start with our argument from last night?
Well, I think our argument will probably just sort of get dragged into this a little bit, but I do think it's an appropriate time with Thanksgiving lingering here in the next couple of days to ask you for a state of the New York Rangers. Because I do think that this is not a typical Thanksgiving.
I see your comment in the chat.
This isn't a typical Thanksgiving situation, Johnny, where, the New York Rangers are out of a playoff spot right now, but you're basically a 3 wins in a row, with how tight the standings are and how, sort of underwhelming the division is from being back in a playoff spot, which is why I don't think teams have fully written off the Rangers, fully written off the Leafs. I think there's still
I have fully written off the Leafs. That's the only team
I know you haven't. I know you have, excuse me. And I know it's all Derek Lalonde's fault. And we'll get into that a little bit because that type of noise really cracks me up. But, look, they get a win against St. Louis last night. You needed that win in New York. There's no doubt about it. You had some pointed questions for Mike Sullivan in the post-game press conference, which he gave you some good answers. My question is did you ask Sully if he would make a 1-for-1 trade with Svechnikov? Did you go with that in the presser or no?
So, what's funny, honestly? I think I won the argument yesterday. Because the fact that it's been a conversation, that conversation carried throughout the entire day, and I heard it on both sides. I got texts from people that work in the NHL siding with me. I got other people saying that I'm an idiot. Like, I got both ends of the
You
of
yourself
the
said
you
were an idiot, by the way. Those were your
which is
tweets.
fine.
Those weren't AI-generated tweets.
I said that yesterday, and there was no thought that went into it. It was a reactive conversation, but like, the text I got and the fact that it was a conversation for me is a win. Like I'll take that any day of the week. If I say something that you think is stupid, but there are people siding with me and actually going out of their way to text me that I'm right. So I think I won that one, and I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna leave it behind us.
Well, listen, you can live in whatever fake reality you want. Not a problem. I say go for it, man. If you want to say that 3 + 3 = 9, sure, why not, man? In today's world, everybody's right. Everybody gets a medal. There's no such thing as merit anymore. So go for it. That's great.
All right. Do we want to talk state of the Rangers?
Yeah. Like what's going to happen here with the Rangers? Like, they don't look good. And I know they won last night. But
they played well last night.
How do they?
It's a low event game.
How do they, against the St. Louis Blues, one of the worst teams in the league, but a win's a win in the NHL. So let's not kid ourselves. 2 points are 2 points. But like, what is your confidence level in this team? And even more, what is your confidence level in Chris Drury at this point? Because man, if you really zoom out, this has been a shit show of a run for Chris Drury here, not for just short term, Johnny, long term.
Yeah, Vince Mercogliano actually put a good article out yesterday on The Athletic talking about the year since the memo was sent out last year, obviously with Chris Kreider's name being thrown in the mix and Jacob Trouba's name being thrown in the mix, and that's what really shook the Rangers up a year ago. But listen, the contract situation is not ideal. They have Zibanejad and JT Miller's contracts for the next, till 2030, 2031 that basically are 2 immovable contracts. No move clauses, 2 guys that are north of 30 years old. You're probably not making solid trades for those 2 guys. But the thing with the Rangers that I guess with Chris Drury and the way things have gone, the deals that have been made, and the direction of the team that bothers me with fans, a lot of fans have said, now, like knowing what we know now, the Rangers shouldn't have rushed the rebuild. This was even before Drury. We shouldn't have signed Panarin, shouldn't have gotten Trouba. Like that just made everything, go off the beaten path. But you look at what Panarin did in his time here, and again, I think he'll probably get traded at some point this year or he'll walk for nothing. I don't think he's going to sign. There's no guarantee the Rangers don't end up in this exact same situation had they gone full, had they torn it up fully and built it from the ground up. Like, I think the biggest thing is that Lafrenière and Kakko, say what you want about the Rangers not developing them, they didn't turn into what a number 1 and number 2 should be. So I think that is what has disrupted this whole thing. And again, I don't know if it's fair to put the entire blame on them. It's not necessarily what I'm doing, but for me, I wouldn't trade the years of Panarin and the 2 conference final trips for the what if, for the what could have happened had the Rangers torn it down completely and built it back up. Like, we see other teams that have done that, and yeah, they've gotten great players, but they still haven't won shit or haven't accomplished anything. Like, not to make this about the Devils, but the Devils had 2 number 1 overall picks. Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are great players. They've won 1 playoff round. Like, they haven't really done anything either. Like, there's no guarantee the Rangers would have had any success had they torn everything down and not signed Panarin and not gotten Trouba. Who knows what this team would have looked like? Also, like, a big part of that was Adam Fox emerging into one of the NHL's best defensemen. Like, they made the trade for him. He was a 3rd-round pick. I don't think anyone could have expected Adam Fox would be this good. So, listen, I understand that Chris Drury has created a problem with the roster that's definitely tough to fix. But for all the people that are, wanting to fire him, who's going to come in and clean up the mess? Who can actually fix the roster? I think that's the bigger issue is I don't know how solvable or how fixable this is right now. But for me, if I was
but Johnny, that isn't a good reason not to do it.
I'm saying it's not a reason not to. That's just the reality.
It's not like Drury has dug us such a hole, so let's let him keep digging. It's like, no, it's time, right? Stop the bleeding, bring somebody in with a vision and a plan, and try to move forward in some way, shape, or form. Look, I don't expect the New York Rangers to just do a complete, burn it down to the studs rebuild like the Chicago Blackhawks did. And I think the only reason the Chicago Blackhawks, being a big market team, the only reason they've been able to do that, Johnny, is because they won 3 cups in 6 years. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but then you had the whole, off the ice situation. You had all this sort of bad PR, and you had to fire all these people that were sort of big name people within the National Hockey League with John McDonough and then Stan Bowman and Al McIsaac and Joel Quenneville. Like, it almost felt like Chicago was able to kind of be like, you know what? It's good for us to be bad for a few years because maybe we'll stay out of the spotlight, right? And so with the Rangers, I don't think Dolan is ever letting you truly do what Chicago did and do a 7
No, it's not happening. And there's no guarantee it works. There's no guarantee it works.
There's no guarantee it works. And it's New York. You're always going to attract
and they've had success.
Although it's going to be harder and harder to attract talent to New York. Like, it used to be, okay, you're a big name free agent. You definitely had your eyes on the New York Rangers. But listen, there has been a lot of shifts in our, let's just call it even in society, right? People are more open to the idea of in hockey of winning in warm climates. People want to pay less state taxes. Listen, we don't know whether it's true or not, but there was a professional athlete who asked to be traded out of New York City, a New York City sports team, over the last couple of days over politics, over leadership in Manhattan. That's a story that's probably not getting a lot of attention. And maybe it should.
Do we know it's true? Like, again,
So
like
I
you said,
we don't know that
we don't know it's true.
We do not know that it's true or not, but it's out there. It's part of it. And so it does concern me, Johnny, that I do think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the New York Rangers to go and land the big free agents when the warm weather teams they're having their moment right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think about me personally, as even though I always like Madison Square Garden, I feel that sort of aura, that specialness, and how sort of there's just that magic in the air in Madison Square Garden, right? I mean, played there a couple of times. First time was
not right now.
Was when I was in college and we played against Cornell, and it was sold to the brim, and it was just one of the coolest experiences of my life, walking down the hallways, going out to the ice from the Ranger locker room and seeing all the pictures on the wall of all the performers, Johnny. Like, there's just something about it, right? And I just don't know if that is enough. And so you're right. Like, what are you going to do if you can't burn it to the ground? And Dolan will never do it, but you might not be the top of everybody's free agent list anymore. Like, they used to basically get to choose if they wanted you or not in free agency. Is that a fair statement, do you think? Like, big name people always wanted to come there.
But those big name people were also coming here like almost past their prime. If that makes sense. Like, you're getting them at like 29, 30.
When they used to be available, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the way.
But that was always the narrative too. The Rangers are getting the players after they're at their best, Like, I'm forgetting the age they got Brad Richards. I don't remember how old he was.
I was just gonna say Brad Richards. You probably got Marian Gaborik slightly out.
Nash.
St. Louis came later in his career. But again, I just think that has to do it. That was like the first time those guys had enough leverage to kind of push themselves, forward. So it looks dire, man. It really does. And I know Lafrenière scored a goal last night and the tweets all started, and it's good. It's all well and good. But you're still dealing with major inconsistencies from all of your quote unquote top guys. The only two guys, Johnny, that I've seen be consistent pretty night in and night out this year have been Adam Fox. Okay. And I would say Vinny Trocheck, even though he's missed quite a bit. He's
played a few. Yeah.
You always know what effort you're getting from Will Cooley. Like, you always know what kind of effort you're getting. I think you could probably make the same argument about Laba. Like, he always brings you effort, but he's a rookie. You can't look at him as a third liner. And then I think as of late, Gavrikov has been, every dime worth the price as of late.
I think Borgen too. I think Borgen's contract as well. And listen, for what it's worth with Chris Drury, Will Borgen to me is a more valuable NHL player right now for the Rangers than Kaapo Kakko was for the Rangers. Like, I will happily take Borgen on my team over Kakko right now with the way this team needed to be built. They needed a better blue line, so I'm happy with the Borgen move. JT Miller
how much does he make? How much does he make?
I think he makes 4.1 Let me double check.
Got it. So
Will Borgen makes 4.1. Yeah.
Are you saying that based on, Johnny, what are you saying that based on like his money, or you just like?
No, I like Will Borgen as a second pair defenseman.
So would you say like he's outperforming that number?
Oh, for sure. He's performing it like at par, basically.
That's where I was exactly what he should be. My question, because I would agree with that,
But let me wrap up with one final thought and ask you this question, because I think it's good to ask an outsider. Like, people can say Chris Drury has made bad moves, and listen, he's done a lot of things that I don't agree with. But the one thing that I will tip my cap to Chris Drury for is at least trying and going for it. Like, how many GMs have sat on their thumbs and not made any moves for their teams to do anything at deadlines, or when they have momentum, not try to build out a better roster to go for it? Like, you can't say he hasn't gone for it. You know what I mean? Even if I disagree with the Kane move and Tarasenko move, like, I was so excited at the time that like the GM was putting all of his chips in the middle of the table.
Well, and I heard that a lot of those were Dolan-driven decisions.
Well, yeah, I think the Kane decision was
Dolan-driven. Yeah, I heard that was totally Dolan-driven. So, listen, I can agree with what you're saying. The problem is, though, Johnny, when you when you make 10 choice, you go out and make 10
moves,
of course. 8 of them are fails, and then 2 of your guys you send west are really, really performing well. That's problematic.
But when you think about the Islanders and Lou Lamoriello, like the Islanders had won 2 conference finals, they were knocking on the door, and their GM doesn't do anything. He doesn't make any moves. He I think Lou Lamoriello would say, I believe in the group we have, and not make any moves, and they wouldn't accomplish anything. So I look at like those 2 teams, and I'm like, okay, I'd rather have Drury, who at least goes for it. Again, like hindsight's 2020, right? Like, the way it looks right now is not great, but when they got Vetrano and Kopp and Tyler Mott at the deadline in 2022, I was ecstatic.
Those were great moves.
Those are great moves.
Those
are great moves.
Good depth moves were good moves. I liked that team, and I liked those.
But moves. But like Wenberg, Roslovic, that was a little bit underwhelming in the 2024 year. But they get to the conference final and are 2 wins away from beating the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Like, they've had success. For everyone who said like this has been a waste, I mean, there are so many other organizations who would kill for what the Rangers have gotten. Every GM is signing Mika, Laf, and Igor, trading for JT. I kind of agree with that too. And again, the JT Miller trade, you're trading Philip Hedl, who
that was a comment in our chat that Vic just put on the stream from New York Marine. Why don't you read it again, Johnny? Give it a little more clarity.
Every GM is signing Mika, Laf, and Igor, trading for JT Miller. I agree. When Laf signed the contract, it was a no-brainer. It was almost a bargain how good he was playing. Mika's a manager, same thing. He was scoring 35 to 40 goals. Like, it just hasn't gone well post-contract signings, I guess. But the JT Miller one also, like, look who the Rangers got rid of. They got rid of Philip Hedl and Victor Mancini. Like, Philip Hedl has been nonstop hurt with the Rangers. You weren't sure if he'd even play a full season. I don't know. It's a tough situation to look at because again, like I am all for a GM that's aggressive and will make moves. And honestly, some guys need to hurt feelings to win. So, I don't like support the way he went about it necessarily with the memo last year and putting Trouba's name and Kreider's name out there. And I think that, roughed up some feathers a bit, and the Barclay Goodrow stuff, obviously. But I don't know, man. Like, I think that's all I got. You have any final thoughts before we kind of move on to the next thing? No?
You're
good?
Pal. All you.
All right, well, let's start to talk about some other teams around the NHL. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Bauer, and the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage. This at-home sharpener gives you the ability to sharpen your skates with pro-level precision at the touch of a button, leveraged by decades of progressive innovation. This machine is designed to be as automated, precise, and convenient as possible. Easy to use, the Advantage features an interactive touchscreen, user profiles, and has readily available how-to videos and troubleshooting tips to have you ready to sharpen like an expert, whether you're sharpening skates in your garage, at the rink, or even on the road. The Advantage at-home sharpener ensures that your skates are always game ready. Learn more about the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage at Bauer.com. And Colby, while we're talking about GMs and teams that we don't know where they're going, you and I both caught the I don't know if you caught the game live, but I caught the highlights this morning of Florida and Nashville. And yesterday, Barry Trotz called out his top guys. He said, we need more from our top players. And they come out and they lose 8-3 to the Florida Panthers. And every goal that Florida scored, they let up a goal 11 seconds into the game. Is that a team that's ready to play? No fucking shot. No. I mean, every goal that Florida scored yesterday, Nashville looked like they didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit. I don't know what to make of the Predators right now. I have no idea what to make of them.
Well, listen, I'd start with roster construction, honestly. And I got to tell you, like, Barry Trotz has done a bad job as a general manager. And, I've got nothing but respect for the contributions to the game of hockey that, Barry Trotz has had over the years. But you just look at this roster. I mean, guys are out of place. You've got Eric Haula and Matthew Wood playing up on the second line. And while Wood is, looked pretty good in the early returns in the National Hockey League, it's probably too much too soon. Haula's not a second line center, especially at this stage of his career. Stammer's playing on that line. And look, we all know about Father Time and how that, affects your feet. And then you get down to the third and the fourth line, and it really leaves you shaking your head. This isn't a team that is ready to compete. I mean, granted, you watched the game last night and all you see is goals where, guys look out of sort. Blown.
Well, you said it too. Like they're like in position, but they're not engaged, right? Like no one's knees are bent. No one looks like they're engaging in a battle. Yeah, they're in the picture, but they don't look like they give a fuck.
Well, listen, you've got Nick Perbix, who honestly has struggled with more than 11 or 12 minutes a night in his career. That's why Tampa Bay didn't hold on to him. And Spencer Stastny, Nick Blankenburg. Listen, I loved covering Blankenburg when he played at Michigan. He's a great story as like an undrafted guy. He was barely recruited to college. Mm-hmm. I know he originally signed in Columbus a couple of years ago. But again, like you got problems there. You're thin down the middle. Ryan O'Reilly is aging, man. I mean, I think he's a 90 or 91 birth year, because I'm thinking he was drafted the year after me, if I remember correctly, maybe 2 drafts. So he's probably 34, somewhere between 34 and 37, O'Reilly. It's troublesome, and they don't seem to want to fire Brunette, but they don't seem ready to play. This is a problem that starts to me with the way Barry Trotz has put this team together.
I fully agree. And there are people saying, I actually want to talk about one of my buddies. There are people saying he traded Askarov away, bad move. And again, Askarov is probably a guy. Randy Hahn, actually, friend of the show. I forgot who he replied to. I think it was actually the prospect Don, if you know who that is, Colby. But Randy Hahn tweeted that Askarov should be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year also. And I agree. I mean, he's been a stud right now in San Jose. But Nashville, if they're looking to move on from UC Saros, which I think a lot of the rumors are that they are looking to do that, they got a stud in the AHL and Matt Murray. I mean, you watched Matt Murray up close at UMass, Colby, and this is not the Matt Murray that you grew up watching. This is the Matt Murray that played at UMass, was a part of a national championship team. Granted, Philly Lindbergh was the starter, but Murray's been a beast in the AHL in Milwaukee since going over there, and his AHL numbers for his career are unreal. He's 71, 37, and 19. He's played 5 years in the AHL. He's got 123 games, 2.38 goals against average, and a .918 save percentage. Like, Murr's numbers are unreal. He was just with them on their trip to Sweden. He's been around the team. And I think, like, he's a guy who's not really talked about a lot. And obviously I'm going to hype up my friend. Like, he's a good dude, and would love to see him get some games. He played a couple games with Dallas behind Jake Ottinger over the past few years, but hasn't played an NHL game since 2023-24, but I think he's a guy that could take over that net if they move on from UC Saros. He's only 27 years old.
Well, and they're going to have to eat some of these. I mean, they're going to have to eat some of the money. I mean, I don't know if you saw the one goal last night. Brady Shea just gets absolutely cooked through the middle. Like, again,
the Boquist breakaway.
Players just slow down as they get a little bit older. And so I don't know. How long are you going to let Barry Trotz continue to dig this hole? It's not that different than the conversation with Chris Drury of, like, this is a disaster that they created with
at least Drury got to 2 conference finals.
But my point is the overarching same theme. You're digging a hole. Why are you allowing them as an owner to continue to dig the hole? You're just going to make it more difficult for the next person to pull them out of it.
They also claim, like, did they not claim they were going into a rebuild, and then they signed like Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea?
I think everybody sort of assumed that they were going to do
that. Wasn't like stated.
Because like Barry Trotz has always been a super patient guy. Like, he's never been a rush guy. He's always been state of the program, stick with the team philosophy. Here's my system. Like, we'll get it going when you look at my system. So, trouble, man. I don't know. Nashville's a bad watch right now. And, I can't imagine too many people are showing up to those games pretty consistently right now. So that is definitely a team that, in my opinion, is a bad watch right now. It really is.
You know who's a good watch, Colby?
Before you do this and you go to this Utah good watch situation, which is what I think you're going to do, I want to point one thing out so I was not able to watch the Flyers game last night. I planned to, and I turn on my Fubo TV, and granted, I'm like, where's NBC? And I come to find out that I guess Fubo and NBC are having a dispute, so I can't get the Flyers game because it's blacked out on ESPN Plus. So I was not able to watch the game. But I did this morning on NHL.com look at the condensed game a little bit, Johnny, and the first goal of the game for the Tampa Bay Lightning, people, again, what I've come to realize, actually, somebody pointed this out to me, and it was like somebody that I really, really respect in the Philadelphia market. He's been covering the Philadelphia Flyers for a really long time. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, I just don't understand why the fans are so hot and bothered about Michkov and this whole situation. Like, I've just never seen Flyers fans get so crazy on one player. And then it was pointed out to me that there a lot of people are so fed up with the Flyers over the last decade. They're not really Flyers fans anymore. And they're Michkov fans now. They're really not a fan base, a lot of them, not all of them, that really give a shit about the Flyers, but they care about Michkov because of the excitement that he brings. Now, this is somebody who literally, I don't want to give this person away, but let's just say, like, their paycheck comes from the organization, okay? So they're close to it, and they've been there forever. And so it's really, I don't know, like that rang a light in my head of like, yeah, I guess that does make sense. The organization has been dreadful, and he's been the only quote unquote exciting thing that they've had happen in a very long time.
But that's every team that's like in this quote unquote rebuild that has a young, promising prospect, right? Like, were the Blackhawks not the same way with Bedard in his first year?
Not
like,
as
Bedard?
Bad. No,
you don't think
not
so?
As bad. No, I did not. I think they always came to Bedard's defense. But to me,
but I don't know any San Jose fans to speak on San Jose, really. But I feel like whenever you have a young prospect like that on a team, again, like what was the Flyers like? Frank had a great. Frank went on some show last week and had a great point about the Flyers.
He went on to know the goalie. Yeah. About what are they actually doing? What is the plan? Johnny,
there's another team.
It's not something we've never said on this show, bud.
No, I know.
I've said on this show before that, like, I do have a lot of faith in Danny and Keith Jones. Like, I think as hockey guys, those guys are really smart, well thought out hockey guys. But I've said this before. I don't know what their plan is. I have no idea. I said it last year. And I said, I'm sure they have a plan. It's no different. Like, this is all they do. Like, Danny Briere is the GM 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like all hours of the day. Jones, president, all hours of the day. Whether we know what their plan is or agree with their plan, that's a different conversation. They have a plan. We don't necessarily see it. I don't know what their plan is. I can't tell you what their plan is. But it's this similar situation of Rick Tocchet here when everyone's like telling everybody what Rick Tocchet should be doing. Rick Tocchet is his 24 hours a day. He coaches this team. They watch film. They have data. They have conversation. All they do all day is think about their hockey team. All the experts on social media do, they go to work, they talk shit with their friends, their group chats, whatever. Then they sit in front of the couch and they yell and scream and they say, I know what you should be doing. There's a huge difference in those two. Huge difference in those two, right? Go ahead.
No, I just want to ask you a question. Like, we started the year when we talked about the Flyers in our divisional previews or whatever it was, and we both agreed, what is there to be excited about? What are the Flyers' strengths? And we both had no answer. So if you're a Flyers fan and you don't think your team has strengths and you don't think your team is good enough to be in the playoffs, the one thing you can look for in the future is hope from a guy like Michkov. And like Zegras has been a pretty, positive.
Pretty positive. He's a point game guy. I mean, but Zegras has been the offensive player that this town has been clamoring for years.
But I also think Flyers fans understand that, and this is I love Trevor Zegras. I don't mean this as any disrespect. Flyers fans understand that if Trevor Zegras is your best player, you're probably not winning the Stanley Cup, right? So I think that is why they have all these expectations or hopes for Michkov, because they want to believe that if Michkov is their best player, that this team essentially or eventually can win a Stanley Cup at some point. Like, I think that's what Flyers fans are hoping for, and that's what they're hungry for, and that's why they put so much emotion and investment into Michkov. I mean, is that wrong to say?
Well, first of all, I think your best player, like your franchise player, it's hard if they're a winger. honestly. I just think that, wingers don't necessarily have the same impact.
Kucherov, Panarin, Pasternak.
Okay, well, hold on. No problem. So
Brantman.
how many Stanley Cups has Pasta won?
0. Kucherov's won 2.
And who else is
won
on
1?
Whoa, hold on.
Kucherov was the best player.
Hold on a second. You had Braden Point down the middle on that
team.
Team.
You had other good players too, but Kucherov was the best player.
You're the best goaltender in the National Hockey
You're not
League.
You're not convincing me. You're not convincing me that Kucherov wasn't the best player.
Buddy, listen.
Yeah, you need other good players too, but Kucherov was the best player. He's a winger.
Completely fair argument that Kucherov is their best player. No problem. Yeah. But you mean to tell me Victor Hedman's not a franchise number one defenseman?
I'm not saying he's not, but you said Cup team wingers can't be the best player.
You're going to a team that was stacked with Hall of Famers. How many Hall of Famers are on that team? How many Hall of Famers is Michkov surrounded by? I mean, come on.
Okay, whoop-de-doo. You asked me a question, I gave you an answer.
But you're not comparing, Johnny, you're not comparing two things that are the same.
You said best. You said a team that wins a cup can't have a best player as a winger, and I gave you a team.
Do you think that the
team
was built around? Do you think the team was built around Nikita Kucherov?
Who was the team built around? Who'd you say?
The goaltender, Vasilevsky.
And I thought you can't win cups when you build around a goalie either.
I think you build around defense and a goalie.
Isn't that a narrative?
No. To me,
well, I've been told by plenty of Ranger fans that you can't build around a goalie when they sign Shesterkin to 11.5.
I don't really. Well, I couldn't care less what a Ranger fan says, man. I'm just telling you, like you build your team around your back end and your goaltender. Again, like so I don't look at Michkov and think that he is a franchise superstar player that is a franchise-altering talent. And if you think that about him, well, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And you watch that, the goals back. All you need to do is watch the first goal back last night, okay? And you watch Michkov come back into the defensive zone, not moving his feet, right? And then again, look at the read. Stop it, Vic. That's Michkov. Couturier is on his guy, on the pull-up guy.
Oh, right? My God, that curl.
Here goes Couturier. That's his guy. And what's Michkov do? He's puck watching. He's duplicating defensively, right? Look at how good of an opportunity and a shot that is right down Broadway. And then Hagel gets the tip, right? So, you look at that goal and you wonder why Rick Tocchet doesn't trust Michkov. It's just like, that's a great example. The game moves too fast for him. Defensively. So when everybody's yelling and screaming about why this guy's not getting more minutes when a game is tight down the stretch, well,
you can't trust him.
You can't trust him when the puck's not on his stick, and the puck is not on these guys' sticks for more than 30, 40 seconds maximum in a game. Like the best player in the NHL might have the puck on his stick for 45 seconds during a game, something like that. So that's a great example right there.
Yeah, I agree. Good clip. Colby, I'm going to pass it off to you once we bring David Pagnotta on. He's been waiting for about 5 minutes, but you and I obviously have to settle our battles before we bring on a guest. So I want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Prime. Stream Prime Monday Night Hockey exclusively on Prime Video and experience thrilling goals and dramatic plays from the NHL. Monday nights are hockey nights, so don't miss a moment of the action. On Monday, December 1st, the Winnipeg Jets head east without Connor Hellebuyck to take on the Buffalo Sabres, who have won 3 out of 4. Tage fan, I know you're in the chat this morning. Puck drop will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Check out the link in our description for the Prime Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video, or go to primevideo.com/NHL. And with that, let's bring on our friend David Pagnotta. And David, sorry for the delay there. We couldn't really settle down. Do you want to chime in? What do you feel? And you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. Well, first of all, I love that. Back and forth. You guys go nuts every time. I love it. It's great.
We have no chill.
I will. None. And it's awesome. But I have to give it to Colby because he had the dog appearance. So
that wins.
When the pup shows up, that's
Oliver.
it. That's done.
He's my trump card right now, Mr. Oliver. But look, we have a lot of spirited debates on here, DP, and you know, the thing that people should know is like when the show ends, Johnny and I generally continue to fight for the next 12 hours of the day.
Last night till 11 o'clock.
I mean, we were bickering with each other the whole day yesterday.
Oh, I saw that. That's why it just keeps going. And I can imagine the text chain you guys have, the voice notes you probably send each other. Just you know, someone's waking up to some kind of crazy message.
Oh yeah,
and it's just F-bomb this and F-bomb. I love it.
Yeah. But that's how people also understand it's genuine. You know, like that's what I try to explain. And there are people who are like, you know, sometimes that I'm too soft and Colby's too mean, but like that's just who we are. Like,
that's not shit.
Too mean. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just who we are.
Yeah. We try to be authentic for people, and these are the same arguments that we have at 8 a.m. when we're doing our pre-show meeting. We have the same arguments off the air.
The amount of times we're like, save it for the show. Save it for the show.
Yeah. So, all right, look, I promise we didn't come to bring you here for marriage counseling. So we do have some important things that we want to talk about with you. And for me, the first thing I wanted to go into is the Vancouver Canucks, because I thought that it was interesting that the, you know, reports started coming out about their big dogs and their veterans being, you know, talked about in the trade circles. But then we had the Alan Walsh tweet, and we weren't sure if that maybe could have been directed towards Hronek or who that could have been directed towards, where he came out and said, funny to see media members talking about players that have no trade clauses or something like that.
I thought it was about Laf and Svech.
You guys just want to take that one? I'll stand back.
No. You got it.
By the way, Johnny, we'll talk after. Speaking of agents, I just got a text from one right now about that. And really, I think I'm assuming Walshy's talking about his guy in Hronek. I reached out to a bunch of people since Elliott dropped that, and there have been a lot of, well, he's got a no move. So we've talked, you know, in the last week. They seem happy about this player, but he's got a no move. Doubt he waves. This guy's got a no move. Doubt he waves. I didn't talk to everyone. So there are a couple, but I would imagine, you know, like Tyler Myers has a full no move. I'm not sure what you're doing there. You know, Marcus Pettersson has a full no move. Elias has a full no move. I just mentioned, you know, Brock Besser, full no move. Like it's going to be very difficult to maneuver some of these deals. Now, when Demko signed his extension, it included a no move clause, which carried into this season. Connor Garland's did not. Connor Garland's no move clause kicks in July 1. Now, sometimes that happens. You sign an extension that includes no trade or no move, some type of protection, and that'll be added on to the expiring season of the current contract. That's what Demko has. Garland doesn't. So I'm trying to read between the lines and see who might be the players that the Canucks may be talking about. I've got to imagine Connor Garland. I've got to imagine Kiefer Sherwood. You want to sell high on that one. And then I don't know what you really have to move out unless you're going to try to convince someone with a no move to waive it. And based on Alan Walsh and based on his tweet and based on some of the messages I've gotten in the last 12 hours or so, I'm not sure who's going to be that guy that's going to be willing to waive and to accept a move.
Do you think that potentially could just be like some sort of, you know, they all have leverage, so because they have those no moves, but could it be a little bit of posturing from a guy like Alan Walsh basically saying, all right, like I'm putting this out there so you know that, you know, if this is something we're going to do, we're deciding where we go, you know, because obviously they get to do that anyway, but, you know, maybe Walsh is basically waving a flag saying, hey, those calls are going through me, guys. They're not going through GMs because I am going to be the one who has the decision power here with my client. And I'm sure other agents feel the same way. And because, like, why? Look, other than the fact that I've heard the boys absolutely love Adam Foote, and, like, how could you not? I was a 21 or 20-year-old rookie coming onto an Adam Foote team. And there's a reason that guy, like, he was a special human being. I mean, the way he treated young guys and the way he wanted to make the young guys feel, hey, you're a part of this already. I mean, he was like, I could spend a whole hour just talking about how gracious he was. And I've heard, like, players love him. They loved him as an assistant. I know Kevin Dean loves working with him as his assistant now, a guy I also played for. And so other than him being the draw and Vancouver being a great city, like, wouldn't you want to get the hell out of there? It seems like a dumpster fire in the direction that they're going.
They just can't get it together. And it's almost the same story year after year, where there's just the direction of the team is always up in the air. And, okay, well, if, Petey wakes up and goes back to 80 to 100 point form, if, Brock can score 40, if this, if that, if this, if everybody gets along, like, it's one BS thing after another. And management just hasn't been able to add additional right pieces to put this team over the edge. Like, yeah, I get it. You brought in DeBrusk and Sherwood 2 years now, and he's been solid for you, and so on. Like, the defense was supposed to be great this year. The blue line and goaltending was not supposed to be a worry. It was supposed to be, who the hell's scoring for this team? And they can't play defense. And Demko's out. And, goaltending has been moderately questionable. It's up and down the lineup. I'm not sure. Look, there's no quick fix, because that if it was that easy, everyone would do it. But now you've put yourself in a position where this gets leaked out. Is it a matter of them leaking this, assuming that's where it came from, to try to light a fire under everyone's ass? Like, maybe you have to go public to get everybody going. Maybe that's part of it. But like, people that I've talked to in the last 12 hours or so on the agent side, on other teams, are all wondering, all right, well, what is next for this group? And if they are going to make solid change, then who are the guys? Because, Colby, you're right. Everyone loves the coach. Everyone loves the city of Vancouver. Everyone wants to, like, that. It's a destination from that side of things. But when you keep seeing the tire fire getting worse year after year, it doesn't become overly desirable anymore because of that. And guys, honestly, if you're Quinn Hughes and you're looking at this, you're just rolling your eyes going, you gotta be kidding me. Again, another, like, we're doing this again? Really?
Yeah. He's out of there, huh?
But nothing's happening now with Quinn, and Elliott had that as he mentioned it. But let's see what the summer brings, because there's a few people around the league that I've talked to that are very curious as to exactly what happens with him come off season.
But even with them, like, what was it, 2 years ago, they had that really good year where they lost game 7, I think, in the second round.
That was when Sherlock was in net, right? They came in and was like, they were on, like, their third goalie at that point, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
but even in that year, I feel like I remember, like we were saying last year, and again, you can make, like, because of Jack and Quinn, that the Canucks were kind of like just the Devils, right? Where the Devils, like, had been knocking on the door to make the playoffs. They break through and they look incredible, but then the following year is a massive disappointment. And the Devils right now, again, it's a lot of injuries and whatnot. But with Vancouver, like, did they just have a better year than the team they actually were? Like, is this the team they maybe always really were? And again, they've lost JT now. He had 100 points that year, and Pettersson obviously was incredible. But, like, maybe they fooled themselves a little bit, right? Like, is that a possibility?
Maybe. I mean, that might be part of it, but yes, a lot of things went well for him that season, but they were able to cancel out a lot of the noise that was there before.
Yeah.
Because
was that Talk's first year too? I think it was, right? Like, his first full year?
3. It might have been a second. I'm not.
Second?
Because he was there, what,
Vic
3 years?
Look it up. Well, he came in, I think, like, in the middle of the season, didn't he? And then he. Yeah.
So that might have been his first full season. And then he had last year was year 3, and then that was the end of that. But the pieces were there. Like everybody was clicking, and then all hell broke loose again with all the off-ice drama at the start of the following season, and they couldn't climb out of that. They clearly, and then everything just went to shit at that point for whatever reason. And then you trade JT and you move this guy, and this guy's not happy, and you try to bring somebody else in, and nothing has.
Their numbers that year are insane too. I'm looking at the stats.
We can't ignore that, right, Dave? Like they couldn't keep their coach. Like they wanted to keep Tocchet. They made him a good offer. Like he wouldn't even stay there.
No, Quinn wanted him to stay. Everybody wanted him to stay. The relationship that he built with a lot of those guys was excellent. So you lose that piece, and again, Foote was there. You just mentioned that a few minutes ago. Like Foote was there as an assistant, and the guys really like him too. But Talk was their guy, and he said he peaced out, and maybe he saw this coming before the rest of us did, but like this isn't. I think because of how tight everything is, this isn't a sky is falling scenario, but when this kind of crap gets leaked out and is allowed to be leaked out, it's one thing to talk about it in off text messages or phone calls or whatever, but then to be like, yeah, you got the green light on this one, you can report this.
Yeah,
that's not usually a good sign for the rest of the team when that kind of stuff happens. So I think it's a combo of we need to start making some changes here, and we all know that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin like to do their work earlier than others.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also the just trying to get these guys going in some way, because if we're going through the same crap again this season, sorry boys, we got to make some changes. And once that report came out, there were names that were like everyone was going, oh, is it Tyler Myers? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? But again, all the guys with no move clauses, they seem pretty comfortable and confident that they're not going to move, at least right now. Maybe they haven't been told the whole story. Maybe their agents haven't been told the whole story yet, but they still control their fate. I mean, if you hear that, okay, look, we don't want you anymore, maybe that leaves enough of a taste in your mouth where you're going, to hell with this.
And it's all such a shame. It's all such a shame just because, like, I've been in that building before when they're in a Stanley Cup final. I've been around that city during the playoffs. And, the energy in the city, the restaurants, the Roxy. I mean, you just go down the list. It's such a beautiful place. It really is and should be a premier place to play in the National Hockey League. It really should be. So I think it's kind of a shame that this organization has become, a little bit of a punchline for the shit that they've been dealing with and what they've been, how they've been handling their business. And just do me a favor before we move on to the next topic. Can you just clarify for our chat? Because I think there's some people talking about Patrick Allvin, and like the way I understand it is the boss is Jim Rutherford. He's not hey, I got a corner office and I'm letting my general manager handle the day-to-day. Like from what I understand, like Jim Rutherford is calling every single shot, and Allvin sort of like follows in line with his boss.
More or less, it's any big move, any significant large transaction at any point within the organization comes from the top. Right. The day-to-day stuff, that's what the GM is handling. But anything impactful, anything big, that's coming from Jim Rutherford's office.
I want to ask about the conversation yesterday. Not necessarily 100% seriously. No, we have an actual question from a Carolina Hurricanes fan. Sound the Siren. They're a fun podcast. I've been on their show a couple times. They tweeted at us saying, going backwards to yesterday, if Carolina and Svech get sour again, what could Carolina get out of him in a package?
To package him?
Svechnikov. Like, what can they get back from Svechnikov? What's his value? Yeah. I guess it was worded a little poorly.
They still view him as an elite winger, and he's having an off year. But if you look at some of his numbers, I think he was a point a game a couple of years ago.
No way.
Was it a couple of years ago? Like I think he played like 50 games or something like that. It might have been 2 years.
Maybe. Okay, yeah, maybe that. Well,
that's the thing.
Not 82
points. When you look at his numbers and you look at like his 24 goal season, he did it in 68 games. His 30 goal season in 78. His 23 goal season in 64 games. 20 goals, 59 games. 20 goals, 72 games. Like he gets you 20 plus, but it's usually on a 30 goal pace. I guess the problem there lies that he's not making it to 82 games very often.
No, and that's going to be a factor in all of this as well. If they do go in this direction, again, they're going to view him, and that's how they're going to sell this, as he's still an elite winger. They still view him as that. He's only 25. If he gets to another environment and he really goes off, that's not something that any team wants to see when you're getting rid of a guy. So, if they are moved, like the Carolina, by the way, as an aside, and I think this has been known since the start of the season. I think we touched on this a number of weeks ago. They're still always going to be in the mix for any big fish that are out there. And they're still going to want to make that type of move. Any move that they feel is going to help them or potentially help them go after a Stanley Cup, Tulsky and company are going to do it. So, taking a big swing for Gensel and for Rantanen and so on, they're going to keep taking those swings. Mm-hmm. This is a hell of a swing if it involves a guy like Andrei Svechnikov. But if they're going to do something involving him, it's going to be one hell of a swing. And I've got to imagine, because of his age and because of how controllable he is with how much term's left on that contract, they're going to want somebody similar in that fashion. Whether they add to a deal and how much they add to it, obviously we got to, we'll have to wait and see if they do go down that road. But they view him as elite. They're going to want elite back. So you're talking serious blockbuster here of elite talent for elite talent if they end up moving this guy.
Right.
Which is what we proposed yesterday.
Which is not what we proposed yesterday. We proposed something quite different yesterday, Johnny. You proposed.
Somebody doesn't quite fit the elite status just yet.
Well, I mean, listen, I would call Svechnikov elite, but I wouldn't be so sure that Colby would. I'm actually curious what you think, because Colby, Dave, I don't know if you know, when you say the E word around here on this show, it's taken very seriously, and sometimes it could bite you. So, Colby, I'm actually curious on your thoughts.
I try to make sure, like, Johnny, he throws
I lean positive with players.
I lean positive. I try to like save that so when I use it, people know that I'm like, I think the world of this guy when I throw the E word behind him. And I think part of my conversation with Johnny when we were talking about Svechnikov is, look, I agree offensively, he's had some underwhelming moments, but then you still look at what his production is, the consistency of his production, and you look at the other things that he brings to the table. You look at the way that, he is sort of a player that I know they just recently had him down on the fourth line with everything that was going on. But like, I believe that, this is a guy that could actually go out and be effective anywhere up and down your wings in a lot of different ways. That's not what you're paying him for. Although $7.5 million in a couple of years, that's going to be like a fourth liner in the National Hockey League, the way that we're going. But I wouldn't quite put him in that like elite category, but I would put him in that, he's an all-star, right? I mean, he's an all-star, and, he's a consistent producer, and he's a consistent 200-foot player. And he does add
I wouldn't say he's so
to his
consistent.
game. I don't know. Like I just, and Ian Dragan is saying he's inconsistent, but are you saying in our chat he's inconsistent offensively, or he's inconsistent with his effort? Like, DP, like, where do those inconsistencies lie?
Well, I mean, look, this year he's having a down offensive year so far. Right. And they're going to count on him to be an offensive driver.
Right.
So that's, a big chunk of his game is being a two-way type of guy, to play the full 200. But a lot of it is counted on from an offensive side of things. So if he's having a down year offensively, at least to start, which we've seen, then that's where the minutes have been lessened.
Yeah, as they should, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, as they should.
Agreed. So you try to get him going, and it's not working. Well, okay, well that's great, but we don't want to fall too far behind an 8 ball here. We still want to keep ourselves, puff our chests, and be atop the division. So once you get going, we'll ride you again, but it's up to you to get going. So,
and I think Michael Wells. Oh, sorry, my bad. I was just reading.
I know. I was actually going to say. I think that's the best comment I've seen about the whole thing.
He makes a great point. Michael Wells says it's easy to answer this debate. Would all 32 teams want Lafrenière? I don't think so. But maybe not. Probably at his number, probably not. Would all 32 teams want Svechnikov? Yeah. I mean, David, like, would you say you'd have 32 suitors that would be trying to make it work for Svechnikov?
Yeah. I think you would. I think. Well, look, I think over the other, I think Svechnikov, because I think every team would love to take a shot at Lafrenière to see if
I agree,
if
and
a different environment.
With that, by the way, I do agree.
Yeah, like I think teams would look at this and go, and there have been teams since I think the end of year 1 of his year 2 that have reached out to say, what's the deal with this kid? You like him? If not, we'll give it a shot. But with in this argument, I think Svechnikov wins out.
Yeah.
So, and I've got to imagine, excuse me, I've got to imagine that, the Hurricanes are going to look at this if they do get serious with these conversations later on in the season again, that they're going to want a better type of player coming back in terms of return than a guy like Lafrenière as a centerpiece. Because I don't see, there's no package. They're not going to give him away for futures and this and that. This is different than Rantanen because of how controllable he is. So it'd be great to see. It'd be great to see a huge blockbuster like that, because we'll be talking about that for weeks. But I don't know if I don't think they're there yet. But again, going back to Carolina's mentality, if there's a big fish out there, they're going to look to take a swing at him. If it involves Svech, okay, they'll have those discussions.
I'm somebody who has been probably unfair towards Eric Tolsky when he got hired. And I have nothing but I've grown to have nothing but respect and even admiration for the way that he's operated and done his job in a tricky situation with an owner that is heavily involved, for good or for bad. Sort of remains to be seen. They've been good for so long, so it's hard to say it's totally bad. But again, as somebody who puts their foot in their mouth from time to time, I'm happy to admit that I was completely wrong in the way that I've misjudged that hiring of Eric Tolsky. And I think his mentality is great for the game.
Yeah. Look, how many fan bases go, I wish my GM would just do something bold. Just go.
That was our conversation earlier. Yeah.
Just how many, you look at Vegas. Vegas is never afraid to do anything like that.
No.
Carolina isn't right now either. You're looking at these teams, you're going, shit, they're not afraid to take those swings. All right, so they gave up a first-round pick or 2 first-round picks. We don't have a first-round pick for 3 years, but we picked up a star player who's in his mid to late 20s, and he's going to be here for the next 7-8 years. So you offset that. You want to be competitive year after year, you obviously have to give away those pieces.
Yeah.
But, you're if you're going for the big fish, you're going for the big fish. You're going for the trophy fish. And that's what some of these teams have been doing. And I give them full credit. Keep going.
You're going for the bonita
awesome
fish.
To see.
All right, listen, we got one more for you. And it's about a big Canadian market north of the city of Buffalo, New York. And that is the Toronto Maple Leafs, because,
my backyard.
Keith Pelly comes in to oversee the entire organization. They move off of Brendan Shanahan. They're a little more removed from Kyle Dubas, and look where they are sitting at American Thanksgiving. And granted, things are tight, and a 4 or 5 game win streak could have you kind of back in a wild card spot in no time.
Ain't happening.
But I got to tell you, it looks bleak in Toronto. And is there an immense amount of pressure on Tree Living to go and make some sort of big, as we were calling it, blockbuster shakeup? Because that team looks lifeless.
Yeah, I mean, I see them all the time. I was in Montreal over the weekend to watch that game. Like, yes, injuries are a big factor. You don't want it to be an excuse, but when you got so many guys out of the lineup, it's just the nature of the beast. So that's definitely affecting them. What I was very surprised at was just the lack of intensity and energy and like playing with an edge to try to get your team going. You don't have to go out there and drop the mitts all the time. You don't have to. But I don't know, maybe finish a check, maybe get a little greasy in front of the net, like do something, go in the corner, give a couple jabs to the ribs, like nothing. You're seeing nothing. And to me, what the hell did you bring in Dakota Joshua for? What did you bring some of these other pieces in that are supposed to be physical? Like Nick was hurt and more defensive than anything. And I like his game overall. But what have you done to try to get these guys going? What did Sammy Blais do on Saturday?
That was a wild, yeah.
You know, like these guys that are supposed to come in, that are supposed to be physical, even the guys that were here before, like you're supposed to be physical. The only guy I saw doing that was Scott Lawton.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dakota Joshua and Arbor Jacki were going at it most of the game. And then Joshua waited till the end of the game to kind of like finally finish a check on him. And then nothing happened after. Like then our Jacki got all pissed off and Joshua didn't really do anything. And then we saw that at the end. Well, where was that before? You know, Florian Jacki and Dakota Mermis went at it. Awesome, great, good. That probably should have happened earlier on in the game if you're Toronto. But at that point, it was 4-2, I think. It was before the empty net goal. So Toronto had a little bit of life, so you're trying to get something going. But that was it. Like nothing else. Again, you don't have to fight, and you don't have to try to beat the crap out of the other team, you know, every minute of the game. But just to show some level of compete, like it was lifeless for most of the game. And which surprises me the most, because on Thursday of last week against Columbus, even though they lost in OT, that was their best structured performance in weeks, even though they lost. And I expected to see that and more against Montreal, just because that rivalry between those those teams always get going. Mm-hmm. Nothing. The Habs just rolled them, especially in that second period. So I don't know what the answer is for Toronto, because they don't have the cap space. Sorry, going back to the original question. They're going to have to make moves. Like I think the pressure is more from the fan base right now than anything.
You don't say. In Toronto?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, but they had their gala last night too, so like everybody's chirping about that. These guys are having a blast.
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah.
It seems like every clip I see on social media right now, and I send them right to Vic and Zach. I'm always, and it's always Austin Matthews talking about like what suit he has on or what company his earrings are from, and so you know, I have a lot of fun with those videos when I send them to Vic and Zach. There's no doubt about that. Yeah,
it's bad timing given how the team is doing. I mean, yes, it looks like some guys are coming back. Jake McCabe's going to play on Wednesday.
He's a warrior.
He didn't finish the game. Yeah, and like I've expected more out of him too, and he's done it in spurts. But it just hasn't been enough across the board.
Consistency.
And like Max Domi's available. Mm-hmm. Brandon Carlo is available. There are other pieces on this team that are available. Like even Michelli, by the way, who was brought in to be kind of a second line kind of guy. Let's see if he can get to 50, 60 points. He has a certain level of energy that he brings in his game. We haven't even seen that consistently all season either. The one guy I started to hear his name over the last week, and it might just simply be like nothing out of this one because he has a full no move. But Morgan Rielly, if you're going to make an impact move, you're not trading John Tavares with his contract. He's been lights out. Probably been your best player. You're not moving Willie. You're not moving Austin. You shouldn't trade. And you're not moving Matthew Nyes either. No. So where's that big piece?
I have a potential dumb question. Could be potential smart. I'm actually not sure how this will go. I'm prepared to get roasted for it, but I feel like, and I think I saw like Alberga tweet this too.
That's your first misstep.
But what could you get for Cowan? Like, because the Leafs are on a team right now that's building toward the future, right? Like, they're trying to win before Austin Matthews' contract's up. Am I wrong in saying that? Like, so do you just toss a guy like Cowan, like to get a return for a team like Vancouver or Nashville that has these guys that they're looking to maybe start over with? I don't think that's the worst idea.
No, like I think they can justify to the fan base trading a guy like Easton Cowan in a package deal if you're bringing in an established mid-20s star. So you're going to have to add to a guy like Cowan. If you're just going to trade Cowan for a second-line player.
Well, yeah. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just saying, like, getting rid of a younger guy, not like a Nyes or Nylander. Well, I guess Nyes is a younger guy, but not like a Nylander or Tavares, but maybe going.
What about you just let Cowan become a good player and you have a $900,000 a year player that contributes when your forwards all make 13, 14 million? Like somewhere in your lineup, there's no $900,000 player that can play in your top two lines. Otherwise, you continue to be this team that has three players and then a bunch of players that everybody else is ready to send to the Marlies.
But Matthews has 3 years left. You don't have 3 years to let Cowan figure it out. There's not enough time.
Well, he just got started now. So if he can follow in Nyes' footsteps in terms of trajectory, then you're okay. But you're still assuming he's going to be next season, let's say, a top six guy. You're still missing another top six guy. Like right now, they're missing two. If Cowan develops into one, then he slots in, you're missing one. Either way, if you're going to make a big impact move, it's not packaging Domi and Carlo and somebody else so you can get rid of the money just because the money may work. Because nobody's going to make that type of a move. Carolina's not trading Andrei Svechnikov for Domi, Carlo, and Kalle Järnkrok.
No,
like that.
But if you throw Nyes in there, it's a different, and then it becomes a different conversation, right?
Yeah, then Nyes is a totally different. But they didn't want to trade Nyes when with the Rantanen stuff, with those discussions. So, and I get that, but I'm curious about Morgan Rielly. Again, I heard his name a couple times. It's been downplayed by some people because of the no move. I know they had a discussion at the end of last season about that, but I'm really wondering if they try to push it a little bit more. If this season really goes off the rails and into the summer. Like I would be surprised if it happens in season, very surprised. But that might be something to look at come the offseason with respect to them. At a $7.5 million clip as a number 2 defenseman, that's very palatable.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But in Toronto, number 1 guy, it's not working. And you got to move the money. Or like they'll have cap space in the summer to clear things up, but you got to still figure shit out now. And I don't envy the management brass because you're not going to win unless, I don't know, you get somebody hammered and suddenly that GM's signing off on deals. I don't know how but I just don't see it.
Yeah, and I don't think people want to. I don't traditionally. I think people like to see the Leafs suffer. So I do think a little bit of that is part of it. I think you play a little extra hardball with Toronto, and you're like, we're not going to give you a lifeline. Hey, hey, chat. We know you guys threw a couple of questions you wanted to know about, Anderson and some of these other guys, but we gotta let DP go here because Johnny and I got a couple of other things we got to go to. Thanks for coming on today.
As always. Thank you, Dave.
Really informative. I think everybody appreciates your insights and to hear what's kind of going on around the league behind the scenes. And, I also love any guest that comes on and immediately takes my side in an argument. So I'm grateful for that. And happy Thanksgiving to you. Okay.
You as well, boys. Take it easy.
All righty. All right.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Canadian Thanksgiving happened already, right?
It doesn't matter. It's Thanksgiving here in America on Thursday, and so I'm going to say Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, I'm just going to call you out for it because
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. It really is. The food is great, but as someone who didn't grow up with Christmas, I'm still new to the whole Christmas Eve traditions and Christmas traditions with the wife and her family. So I'm a big Thanksgiving guy. So I'm going to tell every guest we have Happy Thanksgiving.
So would you want Canadians to tell you Happy Thanksgiving when Canadian Thanksgiving is happening?
I think it's appropriate because we're in the sport of hockey and we do have such a Canadian following that it's important to, just like we talked about, Veterans Day and Remembrance Day on our show. I think it's important to
that's
talk about
unfair to bring those days into this argument.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to be negative about like beautiful holidays,
I'm not being negative. I'm just giving you shit.
You can be that way. You could be that way, Johnny, but that's not how we're going to do it.
I'm just giving you shit.
On this side of the ledger. But
let's talk about great stuff. Let's talk about the Utah Mammoth and Logan Cooley's 4-goal game. Even though 2 of them were empty nets, does that really matter? No, 4-goal game is a 4-goal game. But let's talk about our sponsor, Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins. If you're hosting to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. And today's Uber Eats stat of the day, where we crave the stats: Logan Cooley, at just 21 years old, has now joined 20-year-old Connor Bedard of the Chicago Blackhawks and 19-year-old Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks as the third player to score multiple hat tricks in 2025-26. Utah's 3 total hat tricks, also includes Nick Schmaltz on October 17th for San Jose, are now tied with Chicago for the league lead. So Logan Cooley off to an incredible start to the season, signed that contract, obviously, already living up to it. And the Mammoth again, Colby, we'll get into more playoff picture stuff tomorrow, because I was actually asking like Jim Montgomery yesterday and Robert Thomas and some of the St. Louis Blues about that Thanksgiving stat, right, where 76% of the teams that are in by Thanksgiving usually make the playoffs. And Robert Thomas didn't even know the stat, but the St. Louis Blues are like the one organization that has defied those odds, year in, year out. They won the Cup in 2019 being in last. They made the playoffs last year after being outside the playoffs at Thanksgiving. And right now they're outside the playoffs again. But Utah still happens to be in a playoff spot. So we'll kind of dive into more of that tomorrow. But obviously we wanted to touch on Logan Cooley's 4-goal game last night.
Yeah, listen, this is an impressive young player, and I think something that I've appreciated this season, and I'm going to put Logan Cooley into the category. A lot of the guys who have signed big contracts this year, they're playing up to them. A lot of times we see a guy get a big ticket and then they struggle a little bit. And, you look at Cooley finding the back of the net. He's out at the end of a game. He gets 2 empty netters, so it's 3-1 at that point. Yeah. So it's still a tight hockey game. You got your 21-year-old forward out on the ice, protecting a lead. I think that's always
shorthanded too.
That's always a great thing to see, especially when you trust your top players in those shorthanded situations. That's a way to get guys more minutes anytime you can do that. No, that's not where I'm going, Dylan Lepresti, FYI. But there's been a bunch of guys, and Cooley being one of them, Johnny, that are playing up to their new contracts, especially young guys. And I think that's great to see. I mean, you could point the fingers at Lane Hudson, who's done well, Jack Eichel, although Vegas is not playing with the structure and consistency that you like seeing, but Jack Eichel's been great this year after signing his big contract, right? Mm-hmm. So I like seeing that. Chad Campbell, 93 in the chat, said Bennett is the one that has disappeared. Fair point. But I don't think you're paying Bennett for the regular season, and I think most people would admit that. Joe Albany says Brad Marchand. He's been great this year. Not a young guy. I kind of expect some of the older guys to continue.
How about Jack Rosovic?
He's looking pretty good there.
He's making 1.5.
Looking like a pretty good bargain based on production on dollar value is been pretty great. So I think all those things, Johnny, are pretty important. And Vic is just dying for us to rip on Mitch Marner, wwho has 21 points in 22 games.
He had that turnover last night.
He had a turnover. No, the last night turnover.
Oh, no, that was Jack. That was Jack.
Eichel.
It was Eichel.
The last,
Marner had the one the other night in OT.
Yeah. And so, listen, you're just jealous, Vic, that guy is not wearing a blue jersey right now, because, when you look at who maybe was the engine of their team in the regular season, more and more it's looking like Mitch Marner was the engine of the Toronto Maple Leafs during the regular season. So, I think that it's good to see, and it's good for the league, and I think it will continue to push salaries up if guys continue to do that, Johnny. So good for Logan Cooley. Funny, we had Mason West on the show yesterday, who said the Minnesota Golden Gophers didn't even speak to him in the recruiting process, a Minnesota boy. And then you have Logan Cooley, who went to Minnesota and who didn't start overtime in the national championship game, or him, Matthew Nyes, and Brock Faber all on the bench. And what do? They lose first shift to overtime. So makes you wonder, Little Willie, what's going on with the Goats. Johnny?
I love that he's Little Willie now after being Big Willie.
Yeah. Hey, he owns it. I love that. So
I will say, it is crazy, though, just like talking about signings again, like how Roslovic went the whole summer without being signed, and he has 8 goals, 12 points in 12 games. And I know he's, again, like on the Oilers, but like I love seeing a guy like that do well. You know, I think
he do in the playoffs is the big question.
Yeah, that's the big question, and I'm sure we can have Tyler like talk more in depth about Roslovic at some point, but because I haven't watched Jack play every game, but I think I did say to Tyler when Roslovic signed originally, like, it'll be sooner rather than later that he's on the line with McDavid. Like, he's a perfect guy to match McDavid's speed. But Colby, let's get into our bet of the night tonight. Only one game on the slate tonight in the NHL. It's the Dallas Stars against, actually, the Edmonton Oilers and Jack Roslovic. But it is the game where Mikko Rantanen is suspended. So tonight's bet, whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. We're actually going to, and we lost last night, but we're actually going to go with the Dallas Stars on the money line at plus 115. The Stars, listen, I know they're missing Rantanen, but they've won 4 out of their last 6 games. The Edmonton Oilers have lost 3 of their last 4. They're coming off a big win against Florida, though. Probably a galvanizing win, so maybe it's a little bit scary in that sense, but I don't know. The Stars, Oilers always have a good clash. I think the Stars can find a way to, pounce on an Oilers team that hasn't been very consistent. Yeah.
No Mikko Rantanen.
I said that 3 times, but thank you for clarifying. And that'll be that. So the rest is yours.
Well, look, what's today? Tuesday? Today, Wednesday? Tuesday,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so one more show tomorrow, so I won't quite say it yet. Again, I started the show talking about all the comments we saw on the YouTube stream, so make sure you get to the stream, leave your comments, give us a like on your way out the door, download audio only, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and give us some reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We appreciate those reviews. We read them, and those are critically important for us to continue to grow our show. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. I saw Zach in the chat today, but I'm not sure what they have going on for the sheet today. I know the Lucic interview yesterday was a pretty deep conversation, and they really got into it yesterday. So if you haven't seen that, maybe worth going back and watching now. But other than that, we hope everybody has a great day. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week. We'll have
big playoff picture stuff.
So we'll talk a lot of playoff picture stuff.
No
as
guest.
Johnny just said. Probably not a guess because I think we'll try to forecast who's going to stay in the playoffs, who won't. And other than that, we hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you as we always do, 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.